About a year ago, I made a video on my channel about my 5-cylinder turbo Audi S6 C4. I realised that since that video, I haven't properly updated you guys here on YouTube about everything that's going on with Retrogarage, and a lot has changed. Because since then, Retrogarage has absolutely skyrocketed and gone to, I think, 575,000 followers on Instagram at the moment, which is absolutely wild. And I also haven't driven my Audi S6 C4 in a little while, so we're going to go get that car. And there she is in all of her bargey goodness. First job up, I need to reconnect the battery and let's get this car started up. It's been about a month and a half since I'd last driven this. I drove it back from Donegal Rally in middle of June, and we've a wedding to attend tomorrow as well that this car is going to be at, so yeah, fingers crossed it starts. Okay, there's lights, which is a good sign. I always feel really bad when I'm like abandoning cars like this because I always feel like I'm abandoning children. But it starts. But I guess these are like my children. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. But the best thing about this car though is, of course, all of the fun noises it makes. And the way it pulls, all of those toot-toot-toots. Oh, I love this car. Imagine what this is going to be like with a manual in it. And a bigger turbo. If you remember my video from this time last year, I had quite a few plans for this car. I wanted to manual swap it and get out this old automatic gearbox and turn it into a 6-speed manual. But of course, nothing in life is ever that easy, is it? So, over the last year, a lot of stuff has happened and a lot of stuff has changed that meant that I haven't been able to do that. And partially for the good, because, well, when I intended to do that last year, Retrogarage was just starting to grow. But we weren't anywhere near where we are today, because now we have 575,000 followers on Instagram, which is absolutely crazy, which, bearing in mind the fact that last year for Festival of Speed we had 5,500 and this year we had 565,000 followers, it's crazy. 100x growth in a year is just absolutely wild and mind-numbing. And the great thing about that is it's given us so many more opportunities. We've brought on board new sponsors. We've had we've had so many cool experiences. Even just last week, I came back from the GTI Fan Fest together with Volkswagen, where they brought me over, and the week before we had Goodwood, where Polestar brought us over, and it's just absolutely wild. But there is a downside to that, because that means I spend a lot of my time on the go now. I spend a lot of time, working, which is amazing. I get to work on this. But unfortunately, it means that I also don't get to spend as much time with the very cars that made this become what it is today. This S6 is one of those. The Audi Quattro, I'll always give that the honour of being the reason I started Retrogarage. This car, the S6, is the reason Retrogarage does well. So when I bought this car, it was the same week that I decided to go full-time with Retrogarage. And you always get a bit of guilt, especially when you're abroad a lot, of like, oh, you're feeling like a kid who no longer gets to play with their toys. And it's sometimes that's just life. But none of that changes the fact that this car is still the best car that I've ever bought. People have been playing into my ear of like, oh, what would you get if you sold it? And like, okay, yeah, there's a couple of cars out there that would tickle my fancy, a Porsche 996 Turbo, something along those lines. But honestly, if I actually got rid of this, and thinking about the likes of E39 M5s, honestly, they wouldn't actually fill the need or fill what this car is capable of, because this car is way too bloody damn good. And it's the perfect mix of being like raw, because it has a 5-cylinder turbo, basically Group B engine under the hood, while also being quite, sophisticated, because at the end of the day, it is still a business cruiser, an autobahn cruiser. It also obviously has this really nice balance between being incredibly comfortable inside, but also then quite sporty because it has these Recaro seats. Well, it feels that right amount, that right mix between being old school and modern. Like, you have stuff like the carbon trim, you have this massive dash in front of you with all of these controls, and it doesn't feel super old school to the stage where like you don't feel comfortable driving it every day. But You also don't have like the super modern like screens everywhere. I've driven it a good bit. Every time that I go anywhere, whether it's up to like Donegal Rally, he was up there with me, put down I think 1,200 kilometers or something like that over that weekend. And it's been to quite a couple of events this year as well. Not as many as last year, just because, you know, time-wise I'm on the go so much. So what has changed in the last year with my ownership of this, my 5-cylinder turbo Audi S6? Well, not really that much. Exterior wise, everything is still as it was. We still have the Rotiform OZRs sitting on Michelin Pilot Sport 4s. We also have the Porsche Cayenne 18Zs with Porsche logos there, and of course also the 350mm discs. So nothing has really changed in this department. We've refreshed a couple of things when it comes to the suspension itself, but we haven't even done everything just yet. It's still sitting on KWV1s. I do intend to refresh some of the bushings in the back whenever we do the manual swap as well. Around the front, I have added this S6 badge, which I don't think was there last year. You know, the car it's a brilliant car to begin with, so you know, there's not much that really needs to be changed on it. One thing that has possibly changed since last year is the fact that because I moved into a rental property, I had to put in these like silencers, because at the end of the day, I didn't really want to piss off my neighbors, and especially if I'm gonna have these cars around, then it's gonna quickly get on their nerves. The bonnet then, everything is pretty much as it was last year as well. We still have that 5-cylinder turbo engine, we still have the Audi R8 coil packs, but this winter, hopefully once crazy season eases up a little bit, we can get a bigger turbo on here, pushing a little bit more power as well, possibly a different exhaust manifold as well, something like an Audi RS2 OEM manifold or one of the custom ones that you can get made up for this. And because I really want to focus on making this like my baby of the channel, I'm going to focus on like tidying up that engine bay a lot. So maybe taking the likes of the valve cover off and some of the other parts and just getting them redone, because obviously this car is now 28 years old. It's not all looking as fresh as it once was, so I do want to refresh a lot of that. Since last year, we did take on our new sponsor Castrol, which is why you see the Castrol GTX hat there, because they're bringing back the classic Castrol GTX. Then inside, it's a little bit dirty at the moment because I've literally just picked this car up. The last time I had this car on the road, literally right before this, was about a month and a half ago for the Donegal Rally. So obviously I was at rally stages. The car obviously got quite filthy because of it. I think I gave it a quick clean before putting it into the shed from like the outside, get all the mud and stuff off it. But it had like a 6-hour drive home, dropped it back, dropped it into the shed, and the following morning at like 4 o'clock in the morning, we were off with BMW to an event in the UK. So this car just got dropped, and that was it. So interior wise, it's a bit dirty at the moment, so please don't mind that. On the inside then, we still have the original steering wheel with of course the S6 badge. I do want to get this retrimmed at some point soon as well. We have the carbon trim with the blue weave. I did finally get a phone holder for this because obviously this has no real like place to put your phone, and obviously doesn't have CarPlay either. Radio is still the same. I am looking to upgrade the radio and the sound system at some stage over the winter as well. Possibly get one of those Blaupunkt systems, or get this redone to be able to take tapes and Bluetooth. Seats wise, we still have these Recaros in here because Recaro actually made all the seats for the Audi S6s, which is why you have these like extended bolsters here as well. They're actually quite nice seats, to be honest. I do quite like these. In this center armrest, I still have the phone in here, although I still haven't hooked it up. It's just something that I've been meaning to do, and I did finally add a cassette holder because I've started listening to cassettes. So I do have a couple of plans for this car over the winter, and hopefully this is the year where we have a little bit more budget to play with, thanks to the fact that the Page is after blowing up. So now we can actually do the manual swap right. I do have all the parts there. We're going to go single flywheel, or single mass flywheel. It's a Lighten single mass flywheel even. We're going to go with that, which should give us quite a responsive driving feel and should also mean this car revs quite a bit quicker. We're going for a 6-speed 2.5 TDI Quattro box, so it's a bit newer box, but it's still an 01E box, so it should fit straight in. And then we also need to figure out whether we go for the likes of ECU Masters, or if we go for Max ECU for the aftermarket ECU, because I do want to put a bigger turbo on it. I'm not sure just yet what I want to do. I have been told maybe I should go for something like a GTX 3076, or possibly just go for something like a Audi RS2, I think they're a K27 turbo, something along those lines. I don't want to go for crazy power. I'm hoping for somewhere between like 350 and 450 horsepower. I think that's more than enough. Maybe even map in a bit of anti-lag, because at the end of the day, this is an internet car, and it's something that kind of like, you want to be able to make cool videos about this car as well, but at the same time, I do want to be able to drive this like a normal car and kind of treat it like my daily, and just kind of constantly improve it as I go, and then I'll be happy with it. I'll leave it as it is when that time comes, and we'll see what comes next to the channel, because there's a couple of ideas in mind. I also still have my Audi 80 Avant, the 16 valve one, which I really want to get done for next year, seeing as that goes to, basically it's now classic, or it's going to be classic in January, which means it'll be €56 a year to tax, which is, you know, basically free. Man mats or girl mats, basically free, and I really want to do that. So let me know what you think I should do with that car. Let me know what you think I should do with this car. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and also please don't follow Retrograde or subscribe to Retrograde if you don't like old school and classic cars like this. We'll talk to you in the next video. Cheers, take care, bye bye.